Good morning. So nice to have you join us on this beautiful day. I'm going to say it's beautiful even though it's cloudy outside. It's all in your frame of mind, right? This is Charles Miller, who of course has Scenic City Neurotherapy. He's going to kick off the show with us this morning. Good to see you.
Thanks for having me.
So I think I'm going to start with that your mindset does mean a lot.
It does.
However, you always will say when you and I have these conversations about the work you do at Scenic City Neurotherapy, that if people could, quote, think their way out of this or feel their way out of this on their own, they would do it. But to just casually say, oh, your mindset is important, that isn't always so easy.
I mean, you're not wrong. Mindset is absolutely important, but what are our thoughts and feelings? People think that, you know, when I get anxious, then my brain starts racing. It's actually the other way around. Your brain starts racing, and that produces the feeling of anxiety. The feelings are the product, they're what comes out of us, they're the end result of how our brain's communicating.
So you sat down today with a couple of talking points, and I latched on to one because I had not heard you discuss it before.
Yeah.
And it's neuroinflammation. So we talk all the time about our bodies being inflamed. We don't think a lot about our brains being inflamed. Is it that literal of a connection?
Well, we oftentimes will say, well, there's our brain and then there's our body, but it's actually just one big unit. It's just your brain is the organ that you perceive with.
Okay.
Where consciousness exists. And so understanding the role of inflammation, so when we have a hyperinflamed state in the body, you know, say an injury or what we see with a COVID infection even, like what people talk about with long COVID and then like, I got COVID and then my brain stopped working. You know, it's like, it's because of the neuroinflammation that came from the viral infection.
Okay. So you're going to have to hold my hand and guide me through this one, because usually you'll say things to me and I just have 1,000 questions to follow. But I'm kind of struggling on this one.
Yeah.
So if you're watching today and you're feeling a little bit low.
Well, yeah, or a lot of it low.
Okay, typically for you, it's a lot of bit
Yeah,
low.
I used to
You're
get
seeing
people after everything else has been tried and nothing else has worked. And
Okay. So they're kind of in this it's almost like a paralyzed state sometimes, can it not be?
Yeah, they feel very stagnant. They feel like they're not moving. They feel like when they have a good day, they're few and far between.
Okay. So is what happens, you mentioned anxiety, so let's keep it there. If you're really highly anxious to the point where it's hard for you to function the way you would like to, and that's kind of become your norm, so you might not even know it.
Yeah.
Is that fair to say? Is your brain inflamed?
It is. It's chronically inflamed. So this rapid firing synaptic connectivity based on how your brain, and then how your brain recovers from that. If, you know, just like with activity in a muscle, when we're using our brain, it's increasing waste product. There's a lot of, increased activity leads to increased inflammation. That's how it works. If your brain is flaccid, it's not inflamed. You know, as we use it, and inflammation's not a bad thing. Inflammation is part of how our body copes and breaks down and rebuilds.
Okay.
But when it's neuroinflammation, our brain will literally start to unplug itself when that inflammation reaches a certain level. So imagine, if you think of stress as just activity, okay, we're stress processing machines. We're meant to process this much stress. Okay, but if we go above this line, that's excessive stress. Now our brain compensates for that in many different ways, one of which is it unplugs areas. It's a process called dendritic regression. If you want to Google it, if you're interested in learning more, it's a big topic. But understanding that our brain unplugs areas that are overstimulated. And then when we sleep at night, your brain secretes a protein called brain-derived neurotrophic factor, and it starts plugging things back in and adapting to that excessive use. Now, what happens when we go above this line, we stay above this line all day? Then our brain unplugs a whole lot rather than just a little bit here and there.
Okay.
And so the unplugging occurs due to excessive activity. The excessive activity is identified by the brain as neuroinflammation.
So I know that you see a lot of people at Scenic City Neurotherapy, and I know that you do more of the types of treatments that you do than anybody.
Just about, yeah.
Just about. So you're seeing a lot of people come through your doors.
Yeah.
Do all the people who come through your doors, Charles, necessarily need the treatments that you offer, or sometimes are they capable of getting a few tips to do some things on their own?
That's a good question. And I see those people come through my door. And what we do is essentially stimulate global brain health. The whole brain just talks better. We pull down the neuroinflammation. We increase the plugging back in like we just talked about. That's kind of the mechanism of what we do. And it's a big conversation. We can have that later with the people as they come in if they are interested. But there are people that come through my door if you're actively in crisis. You know, those people that come in, I'm just like, we have to get stability first.
Okay, so I'm going to kind of cut you off a little bit, because in case you're hearing Charles for the first time, this whole process is not quick.
No.
When you're in that low point, it's not quick, but you do, as I understand it, help to kind of get them over a hump more quickly to be a little bit farther along. Is that right?
Yeah, it's think of what we do in a very short amount of time, and it's a relatively short amount of time. It means this isn't symptom management. We're dealing, so what we work on, like I was talking about, it's like the brain processes things. The world comes in, your brain processes and spits out an emotion or a physical or visceral response to what's happening around you. But the emotion is the end result. But that's what you perceive. So like if you're anxious all the time, then we can look around at the world around us and say, is something causing the anxiety? And if you look around and say, things are pretty good, why am I anxious? You know, what is the problem here? In that case, then it could be the brain feeling, you know, a level 10 stress for something that should feel only like a level 2. Crossing the street is my example I use all the time. It's like if you go to cross the street, a level 2 anxiety makes you look left and right. You know,
a level 10 makes you
a
afraid
level
to
10
cross.
makes me afraid to cross the street.
I only have a couple of minutes left. Is it a good idea, though, to remember what you said on the anxiety side anyway, that it's often when your brain is still that increases the anxiety? So if there are places that make you happy, if you feel good when you go to the grocery store, then maybe go to the grocery store and be around people. I mean, is that a good tip?
It can be, but where most of the people that come in to see me, when we talk, it's like, I do that thing I know I enjoy, and I know I like to do, and objectively, I'm like, this should feel good, but the feeling's not there. So that means there's a mechanism problem. It means that when you take in something that should be enjoyable, should be pleasurable, should be something that you know you like, or you look around and you're sitting with your family, all the people that you love, yet your head's somewhere else. Your head is bombarded with noise from stuff that happened yesterday or the worries were about tomorrow, and right now it's being neglected.
So
that's when we have a wiring issue.
Here's the thing I'll say. I have to kind of let Charles go, but he knows 1,000 million things that I can't possibly know, but you might be experiencing them. And when you go to see him, he'll talk to you for about an hour to really get to know you. He'll explain what he does. Y'all will ask questions of each other. He wants you to vet this thing thoroughly to know that he can help you.
Yeah, understanding. Thank you so much. Yeah, absolutely. With depression, anxiety, PTSD, OCD, and the myriad of subtypes that come under these diagnoses, we're able to actually make some significant movement we've never been able to do before.
Give him a call.
If your yard looks like this, it's time to call Blewett Septic. Blewett Septic, where our integrity, punctuality, and craftsmanship make sure the job's done right. We're family owned with a tradition of excellence in Chattanooga. Blewett Septic. Call Corey for your free estimate today.
WRCB conducts various contests throughout the year. A complete set of contest rules may be found anytime at local3news.com or in our app.
I'm C-Mark.
I'm John Mark.
You know us.
You know where to find us.
265 Hertz.
It's 265-4878. We've been here for decades, and we are your local law firm.